Member Saanich North and the Islands.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. And to continue the member from Abbotsford West's line of questioning around inheritances, about 3/4 of people accused of money laundering in Canada go free, Mr. Speaker. That's 3/4. In BC, between 2002 and 2018, only 50 money laundering cases were heard, and only 10 people were found guilty. Thanks to the work of our Attorney General, there's evidence that money laundering in BC is in the billions of dollars. Yet we've only been able to convict 10 people of that crime in almost 2 decades. It's unbelievable, Mr. Speaker. To add to this, a multi-year billion-dollar prosecution on money laundering, a case the Attorney General has said could be the largest money laundering case in Canadian history, fell apart in November. My question to the Attorney General through you, Mr. Speaker, I know he's frustrated by the lack of prosecutions, and I share his disappointment with the collapse of the Silver International prosecution. He was calling for answers on this in November. Mr. Speaker, does he have any answers to this deeply troubling situation?
Attorney General.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. This is an incredibly concerning issue for British Columbians, the fact that it appears that we can't get convictions on money laundering offences in the province. But not just that, it appears as though money laundering investigations aren't taking place to the degree that they should. British Columbians are reading in the paper people like Cal Krusty, who is the lead investigator, or one of the lead investigators on the Silver International file, saying that it's the practice of investigators to refer material to the United States to get prosecutions because they can't get prosecutions here. That's a serious issue, I would say. But even more serious than that is when you look at cases like PacNet. PacNet is a firm that was alleged to be involved in laundering the proceeds of lottery schemes in the United States, checks from seniors written out to various scams, sent up actually to Vancouver, allegedly, to be processed, listed as one of the top 5 transnational criminal organizations in the world by the Obama administration. They were actually getting tax credits from Advantage B.C. And so when I look at these kinds of scenarios, I obviously feel this is a very serious issue, but I'm not alone. I know that's shared by many British Columbians. That's why I asked Peter German on behalf of the government to look at specific cases, including PacNet, including Silver International and others, to provide recommendations or to provide findings to us about exactly why it is that we can't get these investigations done, why it seems like other jurisdictions know so much more about what's happening in British Columbia than we do.
Saanich North and the Islands on a supplemental.
I wonder if there's going to be an intense line of questioning over the next couple of weeks on that inheritance, Mr. Speaker. Canada's Financial Transactions and Reports Analysis Centre is our federal watchdog against money laundering. It's called FinTrack. It rarely imposes fines, and former employees have highlighted that the system is broken, even calling it scandalous, to the point that the Attorney General is calling. BC police forces are hampered in dealing with money laundering because they cannot lay criminal charges without the approval of BC prosecutors. What this is doing is it's leading to a general reluctance from our police forces to address more complex money laundering issues. And in fact, when I met with local police in my riding, they had similar challenges with this situation. I know that the Attorney General has called on his federal counterpart for more resources and to improve information sharing between our governments. And in his response yesterday, he mentioned how this issue is bigger than in BC and that he's working with FinTrack. Indeed, he talked about it earlier today. I know he's looking into whether there are provincial charges applicable for the Silver International case, but this goes beyond any one case. Clearly, major systemic reforms are needed. My question is to the Attorney General. What is he working on with his federal counterparts to ensure that our police forces can feel free to do their work with the confidence that their cases will be prosecuted?
Attorney General.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Obviously, there are a number of issues here that overlap with federal jurisdiction. That's why we've been working very closely with the federal government on this issue. I think it's a problem when the United States lists Canada as a problem jurisdiction for money laundering. I think that's a problem that we need to deal with, and that is a federal government problem that we need support on. I think it's a problem when the federal government goes to the international watchdog for anti-money laundering agencies and reports that we have an operation in BC that laundered $1 billion. And so when you look at these kinds of things together, we need good federal cooperation and support. I've really seen a shift in the federal government on this. They're very interested in partnering with us on this. We are going to be sharing the findings of the Finance Minister's review as they relate to the federal government, of Dr. German's review as they relate to the federal government, and we are certainly counting on action. That's why we're doing this work, to make sure that we get action and get prosecutions out of these matters.